Emily, we accept the love that we think we deserve.
Dara, I didn't deserve to have to watch this movie this week.
I was gonna say, I think that we deserve to make it onto the top 10 films and movies podcast. Is it like films and entertainment podcast genre this year? I'm manifesting that goal.
I
for
like
us.
that.
I think we deserve it, and therefore I'm accepting it for us. But yeah, honestly, I was not expecting to dislike this movie this much around this watch. It's certainly been a long time since I've seen it, but you said that you watched it in the pretty recent past and didn't have quite as negative of a reaction to it as you did this time.
It's because it was like mid lockdown pandemic era, and I was about 4 rum and cokes deep.
So that will change a viewing experience quite dramatically.
Exactly, especially for this movie.
But this is The Swamp. It's our podcast, and it is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And we're ending out JanuYAry, Young Adult January, with The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It just didn't feel right to do this month without this book-to-movie adaptation. It feels very quintessential coming-of-age YA, so it felt right, but honestly, I'm kind of regretting it. I'm wishing we did the other Logan Lerman, Percy Jackson. Yeah. Debatable whether that's YA or not, but I'm kind of regretting this choice.
I am also regretting this choice. I think, like you said, it felt like we kind of had to. Like, gun to my head, like, this was a staple, like, 2014 Tumblr era kind of thing. But I disliked this a lot. We got together and we watched this movie with all intentions of recording immediately after, and we both didn't want to do it so bad that this is like 3 days later and we're just recording now.
It was less of like that I didn't want to do it so bad, but that I knew I was gonna have to take some time to like think of like conversation topic points outside of, because usually after our initial viewing we are riffing, and I'm like, it's just not a ton to riff off of.
It's kind of a boring movie.
It is really heavy. That's the thing, is it's sad, it's emotional, it's heavy, and it's also like a slice of life. We're not dealing with any like fantastical magical elements, which we can kind of get into like our experience with this piece of media, book and movie. But I did obviously just wanted at the very top of the show just a quick content warning. If you don't know what The Perks of Being a Wallflower deals with, it's some pretty heavy stuff, including like a lot of mental health issues, suicide, sexual abuse, sexual assault, childhood sexual assault, a lot of like incredibly could be potentially very triggering topics, which is actually just like what the movie's actually about. It's like repressed memories and like dealing with, feeling grief and depression over something you don't understand, which is really just a lot to handle. And I think I said this a couple weeks ago on our Perks of Being, or on our The Fault in Our Stars episode, but like, we're obviously not trying to make light of anything. There's no jokes to be made about like childhood sexual trauma. That's not fucking funny, and that's not what we're here to really talk about, but we're also not a very serious podcast. I'm just talking about a book and a movie, a piece of media, and my thoughts, feelings, and experience with it. We're not trying to make any grand sweeping statements about mental health, things like that. If anything, it's just we believe that we're treating this like a movie and a piece of media, and that's, at the end of the day, this podcast, that's what that is. So there are a lot of other really great, video essays on YouTube of stuff talking more about, how this movie relates to their personal experience, or diving sort of deeper into like the themes of this. But just at the top, if you go inform yourself of what this is and then decide to come back, whether you want to or not, totally. If that's not your vibe, I feel it. It wasn't really my vibe this time around either. This movie is fucking sad. But yeah, just wanted to, big content warning at the beginning. I would feel irresponsible if we didn't do it. But if we want to jump into it, this, for something so fucking sad and like poignantly dealing with such a heavy issue, I can't believe how popular this was. I mean, it's a good book. It's very well written. It's told through letters, which I think is really interesting. But did you read this book in middle school?
I did not read this book. I strictly watched the movie, and I don't remember having much of a connection to the movie. I think the most connection I had to it was through Tumblr during that era. And that's about it. But I know you did read the book, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I read the book probably in 7th or 8th grade was when it was really blowing up. It came out in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
and was pretty popular back then. It was sort of like a cult following type of book thing. But the movie came out in 2012, so I think I probably read it around the time that they
right when
released that they were going to do the movie. And I specifically remember, this is like horrible, but I remember everyone was reading the book, and afterwards everyone was like, that was so good, I loved it so much. And I was like, yeah, like, it wasn't the big reveal at the end kind of like unexpected? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And like, no, it's very subtle, and they do it subtly in the movie too, of like dealing with a very traumatic, heavy topic without ever explicitly like saying it or showing it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my little 7th grade girly friends did not pick up on the childhood sexual trauma element.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was the one to like tell my whole English class, like,
you broke
like,
out the news to everyone.
Basically, and I felt so bad because I was like, oh, like, you could really have had a different like experience with that book if you didn't pick up on that tidbit of information, and I was worried that I had like kind of ruined it for some people.
Well, and I wonder if that's why it was so popular, because people kind of glazed over that. You know what I mean? Because like everyone, I think, remembers this book and this movie in like a really, really positive light, and feeling like really like seen and kind of represented with some of these characters. But like I think a lot of people glaze over the fact that it deals with some really fucking traumatic stuff.
Which maybe is why this watch as an adult was like, I wasn't taken aback. I knew what this movie was about, but I think I had a way harsher reaction to like the way his friends treated him this time around.
Yeah.
Because, like, his friends are also borderline abusive. He gets slipped drugs at one point.
Yep.
The Sam character, Emma Watson, is, like,
emotionally really manipulative.
Running him just through it. Like, and whether she knows his situation or not has nothing to do with, like, that the way she's treating him is just fundamentally so not okay. And I think that this book and this movie do not romanticize his situation or like, you know, mental health struggles. I don't think that it's trying to do that or is doing that, but I think that the public's reception to this, the Tumblrification of this
that's
movie,
exactly what I was gonna say,
is totally romanticizing, because you take the screen grab of him standing up in the van, you take the quote, "We accept the love we think we deserve," you put it in your little gift set, that you think that this is a quirky, cute indie movie for you to, you know, romanticize, basically, when actually the story that's being told is so much more about like personal, like overcoming personal trauma and struggles. And I don't know, I just think that the we were seeing like the top glazing of it, when really we should have been dealing with what the story was actually about.
Well, like, honestly, it's kind of like shocking to me that this book is like very YA, I guess, you know what I mean? Because like, not to say that like young people can't deal with or like read about and be like and dive into like really heavy topics like that, but this is like every single traumatic topic that you could think of, all packed into one. Like, even like they don't even like touch upon really like the physical abuse that like his sister is going through with her boyfriend, and they kind of glaze over the fact that like, oh, Charlie's best friend committed suicide last year and everything like that. Like, there is so much that they just kind of like throw in there as like a tidbit of trauma that is like, Jesus Christ, you don't get a second to fucking breathe.
Oh, we'll just do a sprinkling of some gay bashing. Just, we didn't touch on that yet, so we'll just, you know, put a little pinch of that.
We don't have time
here
to explore that plot line fully, but it has to be there. So, but like, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with what you say. Like, do you think that this movie was so popular because of Tumblr? Because, like you said, like it was published in 99 or 96?
Yep.
Yeah, 99. And then it took like what, 13 years to like, I mean, at least pop off with our generation. You know what I mean? I feel like it's entirely because of Tumblr.
I remember the only reason anyone was reading the book was because the movie was going to come out, was my experience with it. It was all like, oh, this really cool movie trailer dropped, so now we all have to read the book before the movie comes out kind of situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Tumblrification, the aesthetic choices that this movie made were brilliant in the way that it ticked the boxes it needed to blow up with our exact age group in that time on the social platforms we were using, which, like, for better or worse, made this movie, I guess you could say, maybe a cult classic. I don't know how much of a financial success it was or anything, but I think every, like, girl our age has like had a middle school experience with this
Absolutely.
movie.
I think another thing that really contributed to it was like, think of all like the YA movies that were coming out around this time. They were all like really big blockbuster kind of movies and everything like that, and this was like the first like real like indie kind of feeling YA movie that came out. So I think a lot of people like hadn't watched a movie kind of like this before, or like the whole like slice of life kind of thing really spoke to them. And like, oh, like the shots are, like you said, like a little more aesthetic, the colors are a little more like muted, or like the palette's like a lot more put together and everything like that. So I think a lot of people were like kind of drawn to it in the way that, like, you know, those people that just watch indie movies just to watch indie movies and like won't watch anything else, you know what I mean? Very much like in that, like, oh, I'm gonna watch this neat little niche movie kind of thing. And I think that also like made the girlies that were really into it feel special and feel like cooler and smarter because they're watching an indie movie, you know what I mean?
But I also definitely remember at this time being like, Jessica, you're not a wallflower. You're the captain of the lacrosse team.
Absolutely.
Like everyone loved this, and I was like, don't you get that? Like, it's
this was not for the popular girls. This was not made for you.
It was like they loved it too, though. It was crazy. Like, it was like beloved across the board, which was just what got me, because it's so hyper specific in the issues it deals with.
Exactly. And like a lot of the people, I think one of the things with YA too is like everyone loves to like sort of insert themselves into it, which is just something you do a lot as like in that age range, I guess. But these are not characters that you can just throw yourself on. This is not the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This is very far from that. You know what I mean?
I would say...
Like you cannot tell me that, like, yeah, like you said, Jessica is really relating to Sam. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, girly pop, you failed art class.
You are not even working for the school newspaper, and that's also still for popular girls. Like,
yeah, like, but like, again,
I feel like
everyone had it, everyone wanted it, everyone loved this.
I think that maybe it was that the story itself wasn't necessarily relatable to everyone, but the general tone of feeling like an outsider or feeling socially awkward. Or, like, it's about him, he doesn't have a ton of friends, he's entering high school, and then he sort of gets taken in by this group where he still feels like maybe not good enough. Mm-hmm. I think that is an issue that almost every 7th grade girl, regardless of social status, could probably project themselves onto. And it was through those hand-plucked Tumblr quotes that we accept the love we think we deserve. Brad broke up with me after the basketball game, and therefore this movie is suddenly meaning much more to me than it was before, because this little Tumblr post really is resonating with me. I think maybe why I think some of the more blanket themes of like awkwardness and discomfort and like not really feeling like yourself a lot, very true to almost anyone in middle school. That's just like a universal feeling. Which again, I don't think is necessarily a good thing, that the Tumblrification of this movie made everyone feel like suddenly it was really cool to be like, not that it was ever cool to be mentally ill, but to be like, you know, like I'm a wallflower, I'm so misunderstood. Like,
yeah, but yeah, no, I don't know. Like, here's the thing: is like, to me, the one thing that's worse than a bad movie is a boring one. And do not get me wrong, I am here for the slice of life movies. Everyone knows
I'm not.
I love 20th Century Women, Mommy, Moonstruck, like all like. I'm here for it. I rock with it. I don't like this movie. Like, even like, I guess there's like enough that's like goes on, but it's just none of it's really compelling, and it should feel compelling considering what like topics are being dealt with. But like, it feels like it really picks and chooses like when it's gonna be like, I don't know, really involved with that and like sort of like bring up issues, and it's very like specific, I guess. And then like it's like oh, Charlie doesn't like fucking making out with Mary Elizabeth, he's so tired of it, you know what I mean?
We harp on that plot line for like the entire third act.
Exactly.
Like, and I'm just like,
the pacing is not good at all. The acting is, I mean, like, honestly, I didn't hate the acting. I thought the performances were really good.
It was
for what
the writing.
They were giving. But the writing was
the screenwriting for
me.
me.
Yeah, the writing was bad.
The dialogue was really corny. I take back what I said. I think a slice of life movie can do something for me, especially if like it's aesthetically beautiful and maybe the acting is really great, maybe the dialogue is really great. Like Juno, that's a slice of my life movie that I fucking adore. But for me, it was always books, especially YA books. Growing up, I could never deal with the like super realistic teen fiction, like the teen romance fiction or the super realistic teen fiction, because it was always either just dealing something with so sad, so unbearably sad, and not wrapped in any sort of magical world. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're gonna deal with an issue that big, at least give me, like, a dragon or something,
please.
To deflect off of. But even as an adult, books that are just super, like, realistic fiction are not for me, because I want to have sort of, like, an engaging cinematic experience in my mind when I'm reading something, that I want to imagine, like, a new world or something. I don't know. I'm a fantasy sci-fi kind of bitch. And I remember not really loving this book when it came out. Everyone was like going apeshit over it, and I was like, I don't know. It's kind of just like it's a book written in letters from a depressed kid to the reader. Yeah, okay, like that's all it was doing for me, basically. Yeah. I definitely read it so I could participate in the cultural conversation around the movie, not because it was something I was actually interested in, which is very true of a lot of things I do. Yeah. I like to watch things and read things so that I can talk to other people about them
and have an opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's my opinion. The only positive, strong opinion that I have in this movie is that I will say the Come On Eileen dance scene is pretty iconic. I will give them that.
Soundtrack.
Yep, the
soundtrack is good.
I liked the casting. I thought the casting was great. I do think Emma Watson was really good for this role. Even though I dislike her character a lot in this movie. I don't like her. She's fucked up for what she did to Charlie. You know what? So like, true. Come on. It was that scene where she was sitting there and being like, what was it?
That she'll be his first kiss, even though like, she has a boyfriend.
I want you to know, like, that the first person you kiss, like, loves you. Like, this boy is 14, he like just turned 15 years old, and you're
actually to course correct you, in the book he stayed back a year because he was in a mental hospital.
Oh, okay.
So he stayed back a year in school, so he is a year older than all his peers, which kind of adds to his like not really feeling like he can relate to the kids in his classes, because he did get held back. So he is supposed to be
like 16.
He's a 16-year-old freshman hanging out with 17/18-year-old juniors and seniors, which is a little less bad, but I do have to say, if anybody listening to this is, younger or in high school, if you're a freshman and somebody who is a senior is, like, hitting on you, that's a red flag, and even though you, like, think it might be, like, cool, or I think this maybe goes for any, like, underage person, big age gaps, it doesn't feel wrong when you're in it, but looking from the outside, you have to realize that person does have, like, power over you and is taking advantage, which is totally the situation here with Sam. Absolutely. She has so much of a social advantage over him, and she knows that she can do anything, and he'll do anything she wants, basically, which is not a cool relationship to have with somebody, especially somebody you consider a friend. So just like, I don't know, taking advantage of someone like that, and this relationship being romanticized, especially on Tumblr, always rubbed me the wrong way. Like,
so
the whole point is that it's bad. Like, the whole point is that it's not.
Like, it must be so confusing for Charlie. It must be so ungodly confusing. Like, I can understand why he would be in love with her, considering that he saw her in that Rocky Horror Picture Show scene and everything like that. But, like, oh my god, she really just leans into it. She loves
Which, obviously, she just likes the attention, yeah.
She loves the attention, which is, like, so, like, senior in high school girl dating a college man kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I do understand, like, Sam has her own trauma and everything like that. Like, right before that, it comes out that, like, Sam was also, like, sexually abused as a child, so, which also, I'm sure, like, aids to Charlie's, like, feelings for her, like, oh, like, feeling, like, seen and feeling, or at least feeling, like...
Yeah, connected, for
yeah,
sure.
Connection and everything like that. But, like, Christ, man...
And I think especially because she's so confident and sure of herself, I'm sure he looks at her and thinks like, oh, someone who went through what I went through and is so sure of themselves, like there's, hope that I can, like, you know, feel better about it. There is a great quote of, like, I feel so happy and so sad at the same time. I'm just trying to understand, like, how that can be possible.
Yeah.
That is a quote that I do think, like, if you are a young person to grip onto anything, which obviously that was not one of the ones being put on Tumblr gift sets nearly as much. But, like, yeah, it is okay to feel, like, a little bit discombobulated in your emotions sometimes. And that's normal. And, like, to, I don't know, find people who understand that and, like, are good to talk to about that is a good thing as a young person. But to go back to the casting, I feel like White Boy of the Month, White Boy of the Century, Logan Lerman, really just fucking put his fucking bussy into this movie.
Absolutely.
And just stuck the claim for himself, stuck the claim, basically, as White Boy of the Month forever and ever, because he went crazy with this movie, and then he was our Percy Jackson, and he was fucking perfect, but it was, like, wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, but he was, like, the gem. Like, it should have worked, and it didn't.
Absolutely.
And, he is one of those Hollywood figures that really has always intrigued me, because he basically, like, didn't really do any big movies for, like, 10 years.
Yeah.
Since after this. Like,
he still really kind of hasn't, right? He did he's done that show Watchers.
Yes.
Which is
Hunters?
Hunters, not Watchers. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, him and Jordan Peele are the co-producers of it. I haven't watched it, but I know that was basically
it's pretty decent. It is also pretty triggering. And, like,
is it about, like, Nazis?
It's like Nazi hunters. Yeah, and it's definitely not accurate at all to, like, any, like, they definitely took a lot of liberties with depicting the Holocaust, which is probably not something you should do, but
it's Jordan Peele, so I'll give him a free pass, I guess. But I know he was in that new movie Bullet Train that came out pretty recently. I haven't seen, but I think because Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it, it's really been blowing up lately.
Free my boy. Free from
that's
that
a whole. We had a great listener comment that we should do a whole Aaron Taylor Johnson month just so we can talk about, like, the grooming situation with him, which I do totally think is, like, an interesting thing, especially because it's coming to light so frequently with him, you know, apparently cheating, is, like, that whole situation. But I haven't seen Bullet Train, so I actually would be interested to see it. It was getting a lot of interesting reviews. But Emma Watson's fucking pixie cut shook the world. Do you remember? So this was her first big thing post Harry Potter.
Yeah.
She had not, basically none of the Harry Potter kids really did anything while they were in that franchise.
Don't forget about the bling ring, please. Actually,
that
was
after
after
this.
That was after.
Yeah, that was after this. This was her first non-Harry Potter thing, basically, and they cut her hair off, and it was on the front page of every, like, news. It was like CBS was reporting on Emma Watson's haircut. Like, it was wild, and it's crazy to me to think about how back then a short haircut on a woman was so polarizing. Because nowadays, what, Doja Cat goes bald, nobody cares.
Oh yeah,
like, anybody can do anything with their appearance, and it's really no longer a crazy thing. But it really wasn't that long ago when a woman with very short hair was, like, a big thing to talk about, and that's so funny to me because I remember just blowing up. Like, do you think it looks good? Hot or not? Oh my god, she would cut her hair like this for a role that isn't about, like, cancer or it was just, like, a character thing, you know? I just remember the conversation around this being fucking crazy.
Yeah. They have a handful of girls in this movie with short hair. Mary Elizabeth, she got the shaved side. But you know what? I'm gonna say something, honestly, probably not that controversial. Oh god, what's his name? Charlie? Charlie was right to kiss Emma Watson instead of Mary Elizabeth.
Oh my god, that scene is so cringe. That is one of the most, like, secondhand embarrassment to the max. I guess do what you want. She was not a good partner to him either.
No.
Like, that he felt so guilty, and him being like, you're allowed to say no to somebody, like, when they ask you out, is such, like, a young person mindset. Like, I remember being young and being like, oh, if anyone ever asked me out, like, I should say yes to be nice. Because, like, social pressure. Not that I ever got asked out, but like, I don't know, the social pressure to, like, feed into that kind of culture. I think this is, like, he just like me for real. Like, I also would date Mary Elizabeth just, you know, to just go along with the social pressure of having a girlfriend.
Yeah, but oh my god, the way that his friends handle that situation and what happened and, like, the fallout.
Oh my god, they're like, you can never hang out with us again. That was
the
worst.
So
weird.
The worst way you could ever handle a situation. And I understand it's high school, and, like, I will say that is probably an accurate depiction. But, like, the fact that no one even talked to him, like, Patrick couldn't talk to him even, who was, like, kind of, like, the mediator and everything like that, which, like, I get it, Patrick had his own shit going on. But, like, do you not know that this kid has, like, emotional issues? You know what I mean? You just hung him out to dry like that, and then the fact that getting back into the friendship, all it took was physical violence. And they're like,
violence.
Okay, Charlie, you can come back.
You and I remember we watched this together, and we both, like, had our mouths open. Like, I just didn't quite remember that specific plot sequence of, like, him getting kicked out of the friend group and then beating up somebody and then immediately just getting reintegrated as if nothing had ever happened.
Yeah.
Such a weird, like, no.
It's like
anti-hazing. Don't hit anyone for any reason.
It's not anti-hate, but, like, you know what, inverse. It's like inverse hazing.
Reverse hazing.
Oh my god. The fucking line. I will say, the fucking line, touch my friends again and I'll blind you. Kinda tough. Kinda tough.
And that's why I feel like Logan Lerman really earned his White Boy of the Century Twitter badge of honor with this movie, because it's like he's playing basically the most emotionally vulnerable role you could ever possibly, like, get as a young man, right? Like it doesn't get much more like, soft than this. But then there are moments when, like, hit I don't know, more hardness comes through, and also it just doesn't hurt that Logan Lerman's a fucking 10. Have you seen him lately with his premature grays?
Oh my god, and his shaggy hair and his little shaggy
his little
shaggy beard. Oh my god. I want to join his throuple so bad.
I am circling back around, though, to his place in Hollywood. Sort of really intrigues me because he hasn't done much. And I was reading an interview where basically he was saying that he, after this, really didn't feel like doing too much more outside of his, like, contractual obligations with Percy Jackson and sort of, like, other just things that maybe, you know, slipped through or whatever. But he didn't do a ton of other big stuff after this because he really felt like the promotional process of Hollywood was super phony. And, like, when you do a movie, you have to, like, talk about it and sell it. He didn't like the selling of art, basically. He's like, I want to participate in projects that I believe in and are passionate about, but I don't want to have to do 1 million interviews, sell the movie, make sure people, you know about it. And the advertising aspect, he's like, that just, like, felt degrading to me as a performer and a person. And he's like, and I'm just not like that. He's like, I don't like to talk about myself. I just want to participate and be the guy in the thing and then not have to do anything, but that's not how it works. And that's what kind of pushed him away from, he left LA and he lived in New York City for, like, the past 10 years and just recently is sort of making his reintroduction. And I don't think we should expect everyone to be, like, a big charismatic on-screen TV, I'm gonna be on Ellen type presence. Like, if that's you, that's great. But if that's not you, should still be allowed to be a good actor or a good musician without, I know a lot of musicians now talk about, like, their brand labels wanting them to make TikToks.
Yeah.
And, like, if you can't make a TikTok about your song, then your song's not gonna blow up. It's like, people should be able to make good music without having to, like, put their personal life in the limelight.
Exactly.
Like,
I was gonna say that. I remember seeing, like, a tweet or something and being like, oh god, they got Florence doing, like, TikToks.
Oh.
Like, Florence in the Machine is, like, drawing tattoos for her fans. I'm like, oh my god, leave her alone. Let her go cast a spell in peace. Jesus Christ. But yeah, there's tons of artists like that, and I'm sure there's and, like, that's the thing is, like, I think a lot of artists can kind of get away with it because they do have to publicly perform, but, like, I know, like, think about, like, Kevin Parker, who's, like, sorry, Tame Impala, like, does not let, sorry, I sound like a fucking twat, but, like, does not like doing live performances, like, does a lot of stuff in the studio and everything like that, and, like, still performs, but I can imagine that, like, the guy doesn't love giving interviews. That's why I don't think you see a lot of them. But, like, actors are so expected to go out there and be, like, a trained monkey that it's insane.
Exactly, yeah, and I just think that it's a shame, because I think Logan Lerman is great and is a great actor, and we should see him. I want him on my TV screen, you know. But
right?
if him having to do that performative bullshit pushes him away, then that's like the industry failing us as an audience.
Absolutely, like we are not owed like that extra like mile. Like you don't like like how many people are actively like watching these interviews too anymore? Especially like I can understand like 5-10 years ago, because like it was all like very much like on TV, on talk shows and everything like that, but like now you have to go on to fucking Hot Ones and eat like hot wings and like promote your shit. Like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Or like the chicken shop date. Like there's so much like stuff, there's just so much content, especially like YouTube Red has their own shit, and like every single media outlet, BuzzFeed will have you playing with puppies, and you know what I mean? And GQ is asking you your top 10 things you can't live without. Like it's gotta be fucking exhausting.
Like, I know that copy of Jack Kerouac's On the Road is fucking fake. Like, that was in a prop thing. They're like, act like you like this book, it'll make you seem deep. And, you know, the guy from The Bear is just like, okay. That didn't happen. But, you know, just an example of, like, just, like, doing whatever you have to do. I feel the same way about RuPaul's Drag Race. The guest judges on Drag Race, there's a very fine line when you can tell that it is actually a medium that they enjoy, they've watched the show, they like it, and they happen to be a famous person who gets to be a guest judge. Or if they're like, I have no idea what's going on and I'm simply here for an appearance fee, because obviously the budget for Drag Race has gone up crazy high, like the past couple of seasons, ever since it's like just like really gone into the mainstream. And like sometimes they're like, yeah, we got Beyonce's mom. Like, she doesn't want to be there. Or, like, I don't know, they just get the most random famous people. And I'm like, do they even like this? I'm like, get other queens. Get queens who've been on it before, who know how to judge and critique it. Like, that's better for the audience. That's what I want. I don't want to see, you know, some musician who has no idea what Drag Race is even about. That's just, I don't know. That's the people who are going on Hot Ones should be people who want to go on Hot Ones, not, like, Viola Davis with a gun to her head.
Yeah, no. I will say, I can't remember if he was one that actually enjoyed it, like the medium itself, or he found love for the medium while doing this. Didn't Andrew Garfield judge like a Drag Race or some shit like that?
He loved it. Him and Jeff Goldblum are the two that stand out so clearly in my mind as like celebrity guest judges who just lit up the room, had so much positivity. Yeah, whether they knew about it or not, like we're just such like an amazing positive force on the show. The both of them were just like amazing representations for themselves and how we should like treat performers with just like the utmost respect and stuff. Yeah, get Andrew Garfield on everything. I'm not talking about him here. Andrew Garfield, that's another white boy of the century.
Oh, true. Yeah, I think he won on our latest chocolate or vanilla poll for best Spider-Man.
He did, and I had several close friends personally reach out to me and say, like, what is your follower base on? And I was saying, I don't think that it was interpreted as a who's the best Spider-Man. It was a which of these men do you prefer? In which case, Andrew Garfield might be the right answer. Like, I support y'all for that. Those Spider-Man movies are bad, but Andrew Garfield does get it for me, you know.
Absolutely.
And in that moment, I swear we were infinite. But you know what is not infinite? Is, God, I don't know where this is going.
Chocolate
opinions?
or vanilla.
Chocolate or vanilla? Yeah, very stagnant in the moment. So my mom is here, Jen. She's lovely. She's amazing. She gives us two things. We all say which one we like better. It's her interim podcast segment. She's a wonderful guest host. Jen, how are you today?
I'm good. If you were saying that should be infinite, this is super finite. There's just two things, end of story. That's it.
In that moment, I swear we were finite. But Jen, is there a theme this week?
Yeah, there's a theme this week. So I went with movies that had plot twists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even though this plot twist makes me upset. But
yeah.
So this is super spoiler full. So chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. So Empire Strikes Back, Luke, I Am Your Father, or Sixth Sense, I See Dead People.
I think that I'd see dead people, like, ruin... I've never even seen that movie, and I never will, because I know that everyone just, like, talks about the twist, and there's no reason for me to watch it if I know the twist. I'll say Luke, I Am Your Father, because I think that series has merit beyond that, big plot thing, whereas I think The Sixth Sense simply does not.
Yeah. I've got to agree with you there, Dara. Also, I'm just a Star Wars girly, so obviously I'm going to go with that one.
I will definitely go with Empire Strikes Back. 7, Gwyneth Paltrow's Head in a Box, or Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed, where Alicia Silverstone rips off her face.
That Scooby-Doo is a really funny one, but I remember being gagged at 7. My first watch ever of that movie. Emily's never seen it, so you did just spoil it for her. But
I knew it. I knew it.
Okay, good. Yeah, that one just like got me. Like you don't. I don't know. You just don't see it coming. Yeah. So that one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've never seen it, but it's one of those movies that I know I'm gonna like a lot when I do. I mean, like, it is classic Fincher, and I do like the whole concept of it. So I will go with 7.
Yeah, I'll go with 7 also. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, if you are into movies, like, none of these are going to be a big surprise. You know?
Very true.
Even if you haven't seen them. Yeah. Next one is Get Out, that the girlfriend was evil, or Us, that Lupita was twins.
Ooh, those are both, Jordan Peele is sort of the master of, well pacing a story so that you never quite, like, see it when it's gonna hit you. I just love everything he's done so far has just been so gripping and well done to me. But that actress, the turn of her face when she goes from being the supportive girlfriend to the racist I'm out to get you, like, huntress is so impressive, because you just see, like, her gaze, like, shifts down, and you're like, oh, something is wrong here and off, and I just really loved her performance in doing that, shift. So I'll have to say the Get Out one, because even though I think the plotline of the Us one hit me more, that just, like, turning on a dime moment in a movie, and it happens so early, too, that you're like, where else are they going to go with this? And yet, it still is, interesting and good.
It's a crime because I haven't seen either of these movies, and I mean, I've talked about this still. But I'm just such a huge Lupita fan that I'm gonna have to pick her.
Yeah, I think she's beautiful. But I never saw Us, so I'll have to say Get Out. Next one is that Kenai was the one who killed Coda's mom in Brother Bear, or that Mr. Waterhouse and Randall were working together in Monsters, Inc. and Roz was in charge.
Okay, I think in Monsters, Inc. that was really no plot twist. Like, it was not that much of a, jaw-dropping moment. But Brother Bear, we were a Brother Bear household growing up, and learning that, what an emotionally devastating twist to learn at the age of 7. Like, that changed me, so I definitely gotta go with Brother Bear.
Absolutely, Brother Bear. Yeah, like you said, that was tragic as a young kid. Gotta say.
Whoever thought of that at Disney, whoever at Disney headquarters wrote that screenplay, you're sick for that.
For real.
It was. I agree. It was gut-wrenching, and I almost couldn't say the whole sentence without crying. So, Brother Bear for me, always.
I was gonna say, I don't think anyone's cried on the pod yet. So.
Next one, that in Parasite, that the basement was a bunker for the housekeeper's husband, or in Usual Suspects, that Kevin Spacey was Kaiser Sose.
I haven't seen Usual Suspects, but I will say, gosh. I probably will never. But I will say that seeing Parasite in a theater, and it was a pretty small theater that we saw it in, I remember, like, looking around left to right at the people sitting around me, and, like, us all making eye contact, like, oh my god, like, are you seeing what I'm seeing kind of thing? And it was, like, a really unifying, like, everyone in the room was holding their breath at certain points, and I don't know, I think that's just really special, and that's why I really like seeing some movies in the theater. Like, you just get that experience that you're never gonna get at home, and I think Parasite is one of those instances for me that I was like, oh, I would have never had that experience at my house of, like, just be like, oh my god, by myself, versus, like, turning to some stranger next to me. Parasite for fucking sure.
See, it's so funny that you say that, because I almost had that exact same experience, but I was in a dorm room just with a ton of, like, friends of friends that I didn't know, and we had the same experience. We were like, holy shit. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna jump on that train and say Parasite.
Yeah, I would say Parasite also. Next one is that Syndrome was Buddy, Mr. Incredible's biggest fan, or that Stinky Pete was evil in Toy Story 2.
Ooh, I'm gonna say Stinky Pete being evil in Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
That was certainly, as a kid,
That was a twist.
When you're learning sort of how, like, storytelling works at a very early age, and you're like, oh, these are patterns I can recognize, that's one I feel pretty early when you're like, oh, that's when you can do that the villain was not who you thought it was kind of situation. So, definitely that.
No, I totally agree with you there. I remember that one being a little shocking as a kid, so I'll stick with Toy Story 2.
Yeah, I'll go Stinky Pete also. Next one is in Fight Club that Tyler never existed.
He ain't never done been existed.
Never been existed. And then Planet of the Apes, that the planet was Earth all along.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen the Planet of the Apes. I think I've only seen the ones with James Franco in them. So I don't.
Oh, the new ones. Yeah, the old ones. Yeah. There was like mad power shift. Like one movie, the apes were in control. The next movie, the humans were in control. And like at the end of the very first one, they pan out and you see the Statue of Liberty on the beach, and you're like, oh shit, it was Earth that they were on. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen it. And I don't really know that much about it. I really have only seen like the remake versions, and people be like, oh, this is from some 80s series. So I guess I'm gonna have to pick Fight Club, because I guess, yeah, that was, I really don't care for that movie, but that was one part of it that I'm like, I guess you were doing something here.
Yeah, I am also gonna have to pick Fight Club. Yeah, I remember that one being a good shocking twist, especially like when I was kind of getting into movies more, and sort of doing my due diligence and watching that one. I was like, oh shit. So I'll go with Fight Club.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Planet of the Apes. Derek, can you Google it right now and see what year it was? Because I feel like Planet of the Apes might have even been late 70s, not early 80s.
What, is the just original just called Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, the Planet of the Apes.
1968.
68. What?
That's the original. Yep.
Next one is, this is the last one, that the warden shot himself in Shawshank, or that the chocolate cream pie was made out of poop in The Help.
You used that shit pie as the entire selling point for me to go see that movie with you. You were like, Dara, this is like a mom's book club kind of book. I know you have no interest. I know you'll never read the book. I know the movie looks boring. But there's going to be a moment, and it's going to be worth it, and it involves a pie, and you need to come see it with me. And I was like, okay, Jen, like, whatever you say. And afterwards, I was like, you know what? You were right. Her pooping in the pie, kind of a sleigh. Get it, you know? So I gotta say that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on the shit pie. There's just something about the way that, oh god, what's that actress's name?
Octavia Spencer?
Yeah, the way Octavia Spencer delivers that entire line in that story, ooh, just does it.
The way Octavia dispensed her shit into that pie.
Best supporting actress for that.
Yeah.
I am also going to go with the poop pie. Yeah, I was reading that book when we were on vacation. We were on like a ski vacation or something, and I literally...
You gasped. I remember you gasped out loud. And you were like, I have to tell you about this. You're like, you're never going to read this book. I have to tell you about this. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, Jen, you're right. That's wild.
That is it for Plot Twist, Chocolate or Vanilla.
Love it. Well, plot twisting and turning. I honestly, kind of iconic that you didn't have a single M. Night Shyamalan movie in this whole thing. I absolutely love that, because he thinks he's the master of the plot twist.
Oh, no. Sorry.
The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, I see dead people.
No, the Sixth Sense totally is M. Night Shyamalan. You're right. Yeah. I take it back. I take it all back. But Jen, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for spreading your opinions. Our lovely social media manager, Rachel, will be probably posting these the day the episode comes out. So if it's Wednesday, go peep the Instagram and you'll be able to vote on which one you like better. Do it. Share your opinion. It always... To all y'all who voted for wedge salad last week, like, I have a personal vendetta against you, like, I swear. So just, like, be careful with how you vote. But no, speak your truth. And Jen, we love you. We'll see you next week.
I love you guys so much. Have an awesome week.
Bye.
Yeah, I will say that the white boy of this movie, and unfortunately enough, because the actor is a piece of shit, was, oh god, what's his name in the movie?
Ezra Miller.
Well, yeah, Ezra Miller, but he plays, Patrick.
Patrick.
If I went to school with a boy like Patrick and he was in my friend group, my life would have been forever altered.
Besties.
I would not be even close to the same woman that I am today.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I don't know the nitty-gritty details of the whole Ezra Miller situation, but I do know that it's just wild that there is still talks about them being cast in anything still. They're like, do we keep Ezra Miller as the Flash? Like, let's talk about it. Like, there should be no conversation. Wasn't there human trafficking involved? Like, right? No. Absolutely not.
He plays a great character in this, and they're a shitty person, but the shittiest character in this, who plays Charlie's sister's boyfriend, is the best. Sir Nicholas Braun.
Oh my god. It's crazy that...
With the ponytail? Yeah,
that ponytail Nicholas Braun isn't even the biggest jump scare in this movie, though, because end of Act 3, therapist Joan Cusack...
Dude, I screamed.
Coming in... Scrumped. I scrumped. And Miss Joan coming in just at the final hour to put the little cherry on top of this movie. Wild. And somebody recently, I was talking about Nicholas Braun, and they're like, who is that? And I'm like, the two things I can reference you to are the glowy boy from Sky High, or the ponytail abusive boyfriend from Perks of Being a Wallflower. And if those two pieces of media are not touchstones for you, then I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, because if you don't know him, like you know who he is if you watch Succession. You know exactly who he is.
Yeah. Cousin Greg. That's the only reason... Greg. In my opinion, him and Matthew McFadyen in that show is the only reason to watch.
Endgame.
That is the number one reason, and perhaps only reason. I watch that show only for that character dynamic. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about Shiv Roy. I want to know what her husband and fucking Cousin Greg are up to.
Oh, see, I watch it for Kieran Culkin being slutty.
Oh, that too. That too.
Just to circle back to this movie, actually, though, there's two things that kind of grind my gears a little bit. The first one, not so much, but I do want to pose the question: is why is every protagonist in a depressing YA movie always a writer? Every fucking time they're a writer or a poet, and it's just to show that they have so many emotions up in their little chest. I swear to God. Yeah. Why can't one of them, like, be really into pottery? Or something like that? Or, like, oh my god, what is it when you have a, like, metal detecting? Like, anything else. There's so, like, don't get me wrong, being a writer is great. If you love to write, happy for you. You have more mental stamina than I do. But, like, I want a YA movie where this young lesbian goes out magnet fishing off the bridge in her hometown.
Have you ever been magnet fishing?
No, I want to so bad.
I've only heard about it. My husband Henry has gone several times, and he went with somebody. They didn't find the gun the time that they went, but he went with somebody who found a gun and had to, like, go to the police station and turn it in and be like, I was magnet fishing and found this fucking gun that somebody threw into a river. And, like, we have to turn this in as evidence. And I'm like, that is the most wild. I'm like, I don't know if I could handle that. Yeah, give me the magnet fishing angsty YA book. Wait, maybe we should just write it, I think. Be the change you want to see in the world.
With your past of writing fan fiction and my love for queer literature and cinema, anything, queer content, I think we could write the best young YA book that 2024 has to offer.
The best magnet fishing YA romance, queer romance.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm outlining it as we speak.
Great. Okay. Yeah, we'll get back to this.
Her name's Greta.
Oh, I love that. Actually, I love that. Her real name's not Greta, but she renamed herself Greta. It's giving Ladybird.
Yep. Not after Greta Thunberg, though. After something super niche. After, like, a historical
after
figure
Greta
she
Gerwig.
admires.
She named herself after Greta Gerwig.
Oh my god! But I will say that the writer character in this is fully to appease the depressed kids who befriended their English teacher trope, because that is more real than anything I've ever heard.
That's
to
so
get the
gay
extra
coded, though.
reading. True. Yeah, when Patrick kissed him, if everything had turned around and Charlie like had a queer awakening, maybe this would have been a lot more happy of a film. Him also surprise kissing him, not cool. Don't surprise kiss your friends. Ask people for consent before you do that kind of shit. Especially like if you're, I don't know.
I think you should also ask like your parents what that song that goes Heroes is, because why? This is the thing that pissed me off the most in this movie. It is in the 1990s, and they're sitting there. He's not even dead yet, David Bowie. He's not dead. And these kids are sitting
He's still
there,
making music.
And the tunnel scene happens, and for the rest of the movie, they're trying to figure out what that song was. Oh, what was that song that goes, oh, we could be heroes just for one day? Dude, you didn't think to ask your fucking dad? And then Sam comes in all heroic and is like, I found the tunnel song, guys. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Like, I get it. You just listen to, like, the Moldy Peaches or some shit because you're so alt. Like, fuck you. Dude, that was the one thing that pissed me off the most in this movie, is that that's
the Smiths. He's making mixtapes of the Smiths, and you don't know who David Bowie is.
Yeah, fuck
None
yourself.
of you.
Yo, fuck
Oh
yourself.
my God.
Patrick, queer icon. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the most unrealistic thing about this movie.
Oh my god. Do you want to know a little factoid, though?
Yes.
In the book, the tunnel song is not Heroes by David Bowie.
I could have guessed that. Yeah, what is it?
It's Landslide by Fleetwood Mac.
I get why they changed it.
It's less cinematic, for sure. It's a little less, you know. Heroes does have that little, I need to have the wind in my hair kind of moment. Landslide is more like I'm screaming and crying and singing along to it in the car by myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna let two friends see that.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
No. Ugh. Alright.
Also, wait, another continuity thing, though, is that why are they doing Rocky Horror more than once a year?
Once a month. They're doing it once a month.
They're putting on this live-action Rocky Horror, in my experience and in my, knowledge of cultural canon, is that happens on Halloween, and that's it.
That's it. Yep.
They seem to be doing this frequently.
I don't know, but I don't like it. And I don't like this movie, so if you could please indulge me, can we get into our regularly scheduled programming, or do you have any other...
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think, who are 3 adults? I think we can maybe,
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, Charlie's dad, and, like, what? Charlie's mom, or Joan Cusack, or who's another
Charlie's
adult?
Mom? I know that. I feel like
she's in Grey's Anatomy. She plays the.
Oh yeah! I know. Who she
Allison
is.
Shepherd. Yeah, she plays like the hot OBGYN.
I want to do Charlie's dad, Charlie's mom, and Paul Rudd.
Slay. Paul Rudd. That is the man that I would have lusted after if I was in high school. I would have asked him for his personally annotated copy of On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I would have pretended to like it, even though I didn't, to impress him. So I'm gonna marry him, probably. I'll probably marry him, and then I'll fuck both his parents are so hot, but I'll fuck the dad and I'll kill the mom. He's hot.
He is really hot. I'm gonna kill Paul Rudd. He seems kind of insufferable, and I can understand why he would have that effect on any sophomore girl in an English class. But guess what? I'm not that into men. Shocking. But yeah, no. I would not be lusting after him. I would absolutely be lusting after Charlie's mom.
She's hot.
She's really hot. Love that woman. Love her in Grey's Anatomy. So I'm definitely gonna marry her, and then I'm gonna marry her, but I'm gonna fuck her husband, her ex-husband at that point, before I really settle down.
Love that for you.
Yeah.
I have an alternate question for you
Okay.
that I asked you. I asked you while we were watching the movie,
Okay.
and I wanted to squeeze it into our regularly scheduled programming. Was did you have a favorite book from a high school English class that you were like forced to read, but like really did stick with you?
I really, it sucks because it's so fucking basic, but I did really like Catcher in the Rye. I know a lot of people, the first time they read that book, fucking hate it, but I've never had an issue with it. I liked that book.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah,
I think out of all the shit that they're like, oh, you have to read To Kill a Mockingbird 10 times. Like, you're just over it at that point. It's a little edgier, so I can understand the appeal.
Yeah. The one that, it's not a book, but it's a play, it was that one that, like, stuck with me, and not in, like, a good, fun way, was, like, I don't know if you had to read this. I know Henry was in my class for this. It was that one Shakespeare play where, The Merchant of Venice. That one.
Oh, I hated that one. I hated that one.
I hated that one, but it stuck with me because he's like, give me your pound of flesh. I'm like, ah.
I was never a Shakespeare girly.
Me neither.
Personally.
But I do really want to watch the Leonardo DiCaprio Shakespeare sometime soon, because I do remember being shown that in like my freshman year of high school, and that had a profound effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What one stuck with you?
I took a lot of like of the fringe English classes, so I never took American Lit, British Lit, Shakespeare. I never took any of the like mainstream English elective courses. I took like European Lit and philosophy, where we read The Metamorphosis about the guy who turns into the fucking beetle, which I loved. Loved that shit. And like The Stranger by Camus, and like a bunch of like weird. I really liked that class. And then I also took African Asian Lit instead of taking American or British Lit.
Ooh,
I took African Asian, which I really liked. And we read a book called The Elephant Vanishes by Murakami, which was like a weird surrealist book that I really enjoyed. And then in a later English class, 100 Years of Solitude is like about this like generations of this family, and like how it's like also got like some magical elements to it, like there's like witches and stuff, but it's like over time how this family sort of rises and falls, which I really enjoyed. I never liked any of the Of Mice and Men. I never liked the To Kill Mockingbirds. Even I would say maybe out of like the most basic ones, I liked what's the one about the boys on the island?
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. I didn't mind Lord of the Flies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was it for me.
So what if you are going to hold your friends at gunpoint and make them watch this movie with you? What are you going to serve them?
So my answer to this is so lame, but I just based it off of the party scene where he's like, I really want a milkshake, because like I vibe with that. Sometimes you get in your mind, you're like, oh, a milkshake, and then you feel like the like texture of ice cream going down your throat, and you're like, I cannot rest until I experience this like sensory thing. I feel that way about like ice cream and milkshakes a lot. Like when you want ice cream, it is an unquenchable thirst until that happens.
True.
So I would say that you can either do the milkshake, or if you want to make it boozy for your drink option, you could do like a mudslide.
Yep, that's a good call.
Boozy milkshake drink option. You either do the milkshake or you do the mudslide. Or I was trying to come up with a cocktail that had something to do with like flowers, first being a wallflower, elderflower, but I'm just not like a floral. I don't really like floral things in my drinks or food. It's not my preference. So I kind of just abandoned that idea and then shifted entirely to ice cream. So not great.
Fair
what about
enough.
you?
Wait, what are you eating?
Nothing.
Oh.
More ice cream. I'm having a boozy milkshake and a non-boozy milkshake.
Nice. Okay, I like that.
I'm having a mudslide and a milkshake.
So drink-wise, I wanted to think of something that, like, Patrick would go and, like, serve me at, a party, because he would think it's, like, the pinnacle of, like, class and sophistication as an 18-year-old. So I went with a Cosmopolitan.
Ooh.
Because he would definitely think he, like, really did something, but it's literally just vodka, cranberry juice, a little orange liqueur, and then lime. Which is objectively very easy.
It feels classy, but it's, like, pretty basic.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Like, he's still making...
That's the same thing about this book, is it feels really deep, but it is just kind of basic.
Yeah, like, he's still gonna be using, like, Smirnoff Raspberry with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still gonna be bad. And then I was trying to think of a food, and you were the one that suggested this, because I said, what's a food that screams childhood trauma? And you, right off the dome, said Sour Patch Kids.
Which is awful. I was like, that's too bad to say on the air, but
I'm gonna run with it. You know what? I'm gonna run with it. You got that. You got a Cosmo. Both little fruity things. I think you go and you make like a big popcorn bucket, and you put like a little M&Ms in there too with your popcorn. I think you do one of those, a big mix up, because it's all jumbled in a mess, just like high school is. Sure.
Stretching.
That's what I'm gonna go for. And then what are you going to follow this movie up with?
I love my answer for this.
Okay.
I think I'm so funny.
Okay.
So this movie ends with some kids behaving very unsafely in a car, and it's Charlie.
God.
It's Charlie standing up in the bed of a truck, which by physics, I think he would get knocked back. Like, I don't think that's possible. That actor, Logan Lerman, was strapped in somewhere, because that is, like, not physically possible, but very dangerous. And the multiple scenarios when these teenagers are hanging their entire torsos out of windows just got me thinking about Hereditary.
Yeah.
And when that poor girl is leaning out to get that air from her nut allergy and just gets her head fucking whacked by that telephone pole. So I'm like, that's what's gonna happen to you, Emma Watson. If you lean any farther out of that window, a semi-truck is gonna come by and crush you in half. So I think that you immediately just follow this up with Hereditary for car safety.
Yeah, I like that. That is, again, another coming-of-age movie.
And what about you?
I definitely went with sort of another coming-of-age movie, but less traumatic and a lot more lighthearted, and definitely the better indie movie in this case, and I said Moonrise Kingdom.
Aw, slay. Love that one. What a comfort movie. After this movie, I do need something a little comforting, because I'm, like, feeling kind of icky, and that movie's so soft and nice.
Mm-hmm. And what are you going to rate this movie? I'm going to give it a 3.
4. I think I never even really pretended to love it. I think I liked engaging with, discussion about movies and media when I was younger, and I think I could appreciate that this movie was like aesthetically pleasing, had a good soundtrack, had good actors, stuff like that. So I think I maybe liked it for that reason, but I was never a huge fan of this, like, as a story. It never really gripped me. And I always just thought it was so sad, and that all the discussion around it was really sad. So yeah, I'll give it a 4 because I didn't really love it this time around either. And I think it's important, though. Something about this movie that I really respect is that they talk about really difficult issues without being graphically violent or showing it. I think there's like a high school cafeteria fight scene, but we don't see any children get like abused. We don't see a lot of that. We don't see anyone get raped, stuff like that I think movies sometimes will do for a shock factor that I'm like, you can imply it so heavily. Mm-hmm. You can be so heavy-handed with implication, and your audience will get it, I promise. Like, very few times ever in the history of film have I thought that an on-screen rape was effective in any way. Like, barely, like, never, really. So I just appreciated that this movie respected its audience enough to be subtle. So I will give it points for that, but not a personal fave, not going to rewatch anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh my god. For, like, just about all the same reasons, and, like, it's the fact that this movie, like, it was so boring to me. It was so fucking dull. Like, there was just about nothing keeping me from watching this other than the fact that I knew we were recording.
About it, yeah.
And we had to talk about it. Like, I was not engaged whatsoever. Which, like, even, like, with the soundtrack and the casting and everything like that, like, it just wasn't enough. So.
I agree. This was actually, I collect movie soundtracks on vinyl because I'm such a hipster. But this was the first movie soundtrack I ever bought on vinyl. This was the first installation of my collection.
This is a good one.
Yeah, I think I bought it like at an Urban Outfitters or something because I was liked the movie or whatever, and so I bought it. But I really liked. also so uncultured that this was definitely the first time I ever heard "Come On, Eileen" was in this movie, which really, shows our age. Or
that's offensive.
But I definitely really remember being like, oh, like this music is so cool.
Yeah.
I like movies with cool music. But thank you all for listening. Hopefully we'll be getting into some movies next month that are a little more engaging because I'm unveiling our February theme is Freaky February. Freaky, loose term, anything that fits under the definition of freaky. We're doing Freaky February. So horror, sexual, horny, but also maybe a little bit weird and anything about that. I'm pretty excited to delve into that. We've gotten a ton of really great suggestions recently for like future months, and I've been trying to like extract your movie suggestions from those month themes because it's like hard to, do them all or get them all to it, because we only do so much. But I do write down everything all of you ever send. Love it. Please continue to do it. Month themes, movie ideas, chocolate or vanilla themes, questions you want us to answer, any of that, please always send them in. It, means the world to us. And thank you for listening. Oh, all of our description link below, all of our social media is there. Leave us a review if you haven't done so on Spotify or Apple or wherever you are listening to us. If you just give us some stars, just however many stars you're feeling, you can give that to us. Or if the people who type out a comment, we get little notifications, and some of y'all say some funny shit. So leave us a little funny. Leave me a riddle. Leave me a riddle in the stars, please. And that's all. And goodbye and good night.